whether the weather be cold, whether the weather be hot, we'll be together forever and ever, whether we like it or not.
What we
This
talking
is Homie Hangout. Title sequence.
Hey YouTube, my name is Amar,
I'm Edward.
and this is Homie Hangout, where we talk about all things geek, nerd, and really just whatever we're into. Tonight is actually our first episode of our series, Geek Gab.
Here on Geek Gab, we hope to talk about anime, video games, movies, and general geek news.
And tonight we're focusing on all things Marvel. And to kick it off, we're going to be talking about some newer, more recent Marvel kind of stuff. So we'll be talking about our theories and our thoughts about Captain Marvel and how that's going to kind of lead into Endgame. And then we're also going to discuss the trailer for Endgame and our theories and what we think is going to happen in the upcoming movie.
And then after that, we're going to go into trailers for more upcoming movies that are a bit farther out, such as Spiderman Far From Home and Dark Phoenix, and talk about pretty much the same stuff.
And to wrap up the night, we're going to talk about the merger between 20th Century Fox and Disney and what that could really mean for the future of the MCU and bringing together all those new franchises that they just acquired. Now, if you don't want to have any spoilers, this next section is going to be filled with spoilers for Captain Marvel specifically. We're going to talk about what we thought about it, some of the things that happened in it, and if you don't want to see that, go ahead and just fast forward a little bit.
If only we could spoil Endgame.
Right. That would be awesome.
Hey, Kevin Feige.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, what did you think about Captain Marvel, Trey?
So I liked it a lot, actually. I like how it brought in a lot of different stuff with feminism and just like it touched on a lot of that. There's a lot of like 90s references with Blockbuster, pagers, payphones, just a lot of stuff with that. There was Stan Lee reading his script for what was that movie he was in? I forget.
Was it Marvel?
No, it wasn't a Marvel movie. It was Stanley was actually in a movie, and so Stanley was like playing Stanley.
No way, I never caught that cameo. That's cool.
So it's the cameo that he's on the train.
Got you. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
That was the script he was reading. So that was cool. And I don't know, like it's really weird in the trailer when they do it, but when she's on the Kree ship, no, not the Kree ship, the Skrull ship breaking out, and she just kind of like that was.
It was really funny. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I really liked it too. A lot of people were saying that it's like their favorite Marvel film, or like it's the best Marvel film to ever come out. And while it was good, I wouldn't say it's the best Marvel movie to ever come out, but definitely worth seeing in theaters. Definitely, I would say go see it before it comes out on DVD, especially if you're going to see Endgame, just because there's a lot of important things that happen. And, you know, they touch on the Tesseract. They kind of throw in that little cameo when the cat, what are they called again?
Flarkin.
Yeah.
Flarkin,
whatever they're called, eats the Tesseract. I thought that was a really funny little cameo.
I saw a little earlier today, actually. I spent a lot of time online just like surfing on stuff. It's an issue.
Definitely.
I saw something about calling back to the first Avengers movie, actually.
Oh, yeah?
With when Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, first shows up at Hulk to recruit him, at Bruce Banner to recruit him, not the Hulk, but to help like search for it.
Right.
She shows him a picture of the Tesseract, says it's like radioactive technology, and Bruce Banner's response is, "What? Does he want the other guy to swallow it?" Which Goose does.
That's hysterical. I never caught that. That's so funny.
I didn't catch it either, but someone else did, and so I thought I'd bring that out. I forget their name or title or whatever. But
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, what did you think about with the whole like Kree and Skrulls and all of that, and how that twist that they had? They weren't bad guys. The Skrulls were the good guys, or the underdogs, I guess you could say, and then the Kree were the bad guys in this one. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming actually, because So I believe in the comics you're saying that the Kree are traditionally bad guys and not great. I know in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they're bad guys there. Actually, also the reason for the Inhumans existing. So they've meddled in Earth affairs before.
Right.
Also the reason Coulson is still alive.
That's a good point.
And then, indirectly, not by choice. And then the Skrulls typically are part of the Secret Wars storyline. They're integral to Captain Marvel's story, but they're part of the Secret Wars storyline where they've infiltrated Earth and replaced a bunch of Marvel heroes. And then like just some random characters on the side. And so you don't really know who they are and who's not. And so the fact that they still kept their shape-shifting powers, because I don't think you could really do them without it.
Right.
But they're not villains necessarily.
And this
was interesting. He does say, Talos does say that there are thousands of other Skrulls spread out throughout the universe, or at least spread out throughout the galaxy, who they have to find. And one of those could end up being the Secret Wars storyline. I thought it was an interesting little twist that I don't think anyone saw coming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you were talking about them when we were talking earlier, that the whole storyline with them being able to shapeshift into anybody, and they always cause problems in the comics. And some of them would be good guys and some of them would be bad guys, but typically they would always infiltrate things to start things or start problems and cause things like that. And so it was really interesting to just kind of see that, like you said, this particular group of them could be good guys, and the other ones that are out there could be the bad guys, which could be leading up to who knows what in Endgame. I'm personally thinking that after we get past Endgame and we go into the next section of Marvel, I think we really are going to see Secret Wars happen, and I kind of think that's why they were really introduced. I think it was kind of show a little bit of backstory, a reason to kind of bring in Captain Marvel since she is such a big player in current comics and in current canon, and just to kind of bring in future bad guys,
Also, it's just better foresight instead of like, hey, here's a new villain that we have.
Yeah.
Like Thanos was introduced in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, the end credit scenes. That's crazy.
Reaching out for that. The end credit scene for Captain Marvel is like extremely hype for Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Second one is funny, not really important. What else is there? So then also, there was another reference, so the jet that they fly out of the Pegasus base?
Sounds right. I can give you 100%. We'll put in a little title right here what it actually was.
So they get on her and Fury get into the base, the airfield, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in after them and is trying to chase them out, and so then they get on a ship and they fly the ship out. It's actually a preliminary Quinjet.
That's what I thought. The shape was like really similar.
It doesn't match up in Age of Ultron. It doesn't match up in any of the other ones, any other Quinjets past that. I don't think it might actually match up in Civil War. I'm not positive. But if you go to the first Avengers, none of them are exact, but it's definitely a preliminary design for the Quinjet, essentially. Which would make sense because Fury's also the one who gets on it. And it goes to space, and then they have, one of the Skrulls upgrades it to go to space, and in an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they do go to space in a Quinjet. So there's that.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. We were talking the other day about her potentially... She says she wants to... She's talking with Fury, or talking near Fury, and says that she wants to, at the end of the movie, she wants to go to space like Carol does. And go to other planets or other galaxies. She wants to go out there.
Yeah, she wants to travel out further. She wants to go out into the galaxy.
Which, she says just before Carol leaves to do so.
Right.
Captain Marvel. And I think it was really... And then Nick Fury makes some quip. And it's kind of funny. And so we were talking, though, and we were thinking she could either be the new Iron Man, because in comics currently, Iron Man has been replaced by a 16-year-old black girl. Now, her age doesn't quite line up, but whatever. Or I was thinking even Lunella.
Which is a really, really cool thought. It really blew me away because I thought Ironheart was going to be Shuri. I'm pronouncing that right. Shuri, right? Shuri? I'm not 100% sure, but Black Panther's little sister. Just because she is really good with tech and technology, and the age is a little bit closer, and it would make sense that we're really introducing Wakanda and Wakanda technology, and I was like, they could... With MCU, I feel like they take a little bit of liberties in some areas, a little bit of creative freedoms, where they're like, this is canon, but we're going to try to alter it a little bit to fit the MCU a little bit better.
Which is still canon because it's technically another universe within the whole Marvel set of like parallel universes. Yeah. So the MCU has its own number, the comics have their own number, Spider-Verse has its own number.
Exactly.
Each branch of the comics has its own number, and like Earth number, blah, 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 blah.
And that's why I think it's plausible that, if not, remind me her name more too.
Shuri?
Other one. Monica.
Monica.
If not Monica, it would have to be Shuri because she could use that Wakandan technology to help her make the Ironheart suit. And then she could take on the helm based off of whatever happens in Endgame to Iron Man being Ironheart. Now to go on to the topic of Lunella? Yeah, Lunella. Moon Girl. That's what you were saying. Explain your theory one more time.
So we don't quite know Monica's intelligence level yet, and she's already a bit too old, I think, to be Lunella, but she wants to go to space. She wants to kind of travel. So based on the moon, I believe, which Moon Girl has, would be perfect. And then Moon Girl's the smartest person in existence, essentially, at least on Earth, and smartest human. And Monica ends up growing up around her mom working on planes and Carol probably working on planes as well. And so she kind of grows up in a very engineering atmosphere, which would also go for Ironheart. But she just wants to get out there. And then there could be a whole age thing or fusion, or because when you actually travel in space, which is partially why some people why Carol could not have changed, because she's traveling at such a speed through space, and scientifically, if you hit a certain speed in space, time kind of slows in space somehow, in a really weird way, and especially if you're traveling quickly, and so you don't age quite the same, and you can kind of slow down aging. I know they tried to really study it with the twins. They sent one up to the space station for a year and kept one on Earth, and then tested them beforehand and then tested them afterhand, and so they wanted to check that out. And so I think, and so that could be why Captain Marvel stays so young. That could be how Lunella gets to that point. She could totally just jack the first Quinjet and just go and start doing it herself,
or make her own, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really great theory, especially for whatever happens in Endgame, to kind of transition over to Endgame.
Yes.
Now, you haven't actually seen the newest trailer, or you said you did see the newest trailer for Endgame?
I think so. I'm not positive. I've kind of stopped watching trailers as a whole, sort of. I'll watch one, and then I used to be really into just watching trailers as they came out. And then, especially with these newer Marvel ones, they're getting to be kind of repetitive.
Definitely.
Which I get why, so they don't reveal too much, because he is one of the largest franchises in history. Has the most movies in a franchise. And so I get why they'd be revealing less and less in the trailers. But I do want to point out a few things. That I believe the directors and producers have been known to lie about certain things. So I remember after Infinity War ended, after it came out, I believe the directors came forward at some point and said that Shuri was still alive. She hadn't been dusted. In the desolation, I believe is the official term for it.
Yeah, I think so.
And then in, I think, the first trailer for Endgame, they show her on the missing person screen. They show Spider-Man, and then they show Shuri. And it seems kind of weird that she would be missing, because they were in Wakanda when it happened, so they could have pretty easily checked in on it. So it's essentially saying that she's dead. And then the newer posters that came out for Endgame have all the living characters in color and all the dead characters in black and white. And she was also in one of the black and white posters. And so it's so they said she was alive, but now it's very clear that she's probably not, unless they're lying again.
True.
And so it's...
And to touch on that topic, I did see an article scrolling through Facebook that this footage I'm about to show you was actually altered. That some of the things I'm about to show him is not actually what's going to be printed in the actual trailer, and that's happened with all kinds of things, like you were saying, with people's dialogue, different scenes, characters not actually being there. So this is kind of a rough idea of what we're going to get, but...
Some of it is definitely different shots used from a film standpoint. They'll do multiple takes, and they'll use one take over another. But a prime example would be in Endgame, where you see Hulk in the final battle.
Yes.
And he showed up to say no.
Not Endgame.
Yeah, in Infinity War. He shows up to say, no, I'm not going to fight Ebon Black, maybe?
Yeah, basically.
I don't know. The big hulking child of Thanos. Hulk shows up within the Hulkbuster armor just to say no.
But we're actually going to watch this trailer just to kind of refresh our memories, kind of give us a fresher look at it so you can actually get an authentic reaction from us. So we're going to watch this and come right back to it.
I'm really liking this trailer. How like it's all black and white, but like with red aspects from past movies.
It's giving you those flashbacks from the very first day. So it's opening up with the first Iron Man movie with him sitting in the dirt, pulling open off that armor. You just see kind of red accents from like blood and explosions and stuff like that.
Blood, wires. Okay, so real
Yeah,
quick
I'm gonna
right
pause
here.
this right here.
Um,
So this is a shot of Hawkeye and his daughter. Now back in Infinity War, his daughter was a lot younger. Now she looks about, I'd say, like
in
mid-teens.
Age of Ultron, she was younger.
Age of Ultron, I guess.
And so we actually, I believe there's an official timeline, and it doesn't quite I believe in the beginning it corresponds with our years now, but as I believe Spider-Man Homecoming took place in 2020 actually, so even next year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of liberties that they can take with time. His hair's actually not shaved here.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing. So I think this is going to be a flashback sequence.
So he does this at some point.
Yeah,
with his head,
which
he
also
becomes
you see
Ronin.
in this.
But so there's a theory that it's his daughter, which I'm kind of partial to, especially with how like loving he is and like the high five. But then there could also be the female Hawkeye. I forget her name. But like she's not even known as the female Hawkeye. She's just Hawkeye, and so they're both kind of just Hawkeye, and it's kind of cool equality thing. But like the joy on his face right here definitely makes it seem like he's very proud of his daughter.
Right, and introducing like a daughter figure really goes back to the whole thought of the next Avengers, the young Avengers, Shuri, Moon Girl, the next Hawkeye, who's going to be taking this helm after this phase ends. So
Captain America does not appear in Infinity War at all. He is Nomad in that. After he leaves America, he becomes Nomad, which happens in the comics a few times. You actually see someone refers to him as Cap or Captain America at some point in Infinity War, and he kind of grimaces at it. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. But he's kind of uncomfortable with it because he no longer identifies as Captain America. He's now Nomad. He's lost the shield. He switches to a different thing. He's no longer doing. I don't even think he has a star on his uniform.
No, he doesn't. No.
Because he still had a star in the Winter Soldier in his shield uniform, but now he no longer has the colors. He still has some like the original Captain America from the comics, like
The lines.
shell, like chain armor on, but it's like a black suit. He's no longer Captain America. He's now Nomad, and Hawkeye is now Ronin.
That's in this trailer is all of the Avengers walking out in uniform, white suits.
Believed to be the quantum rope suits.
Because they look very hardened, they look extra armor, they have like very like layered to them, and quantum realm makes way more sense. My thought was like, oh, we're going into space, we're gonna go fight Thanos one more time, we're gonna go finally go get him and go to space. But quantum realm makes way more sense, especially if they're gonna actually follow the storyline of the comics, because in the comics, everybody who disappears isn't actually dead. They are actually inside of one of the Infinity Stones, which is the Soul Stone,
I believe.
And so my theory has always been that Ant-Man is going to be a very, very pinnacle key player in this movie.
Which I hope he is, but it's kind of like people keep slacking on him, and the movies are really good if you actually go and watch them.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's like Ant-Man's kind of a throwaway character, much like Aquaman. It's just Ant-Man isn't. Paul Rudd isn't Jason Momoa.
This trailer has me really hyped because with Captain Marvel releasing right before Endgame came out, I was really scared that they were going to bank everything on Captain Marvel. I was really scared that she was basically just going to show up and basically win the entire battle for everybody. They're like, oh, she's our new hero, she's our new staple. Captain America, who? No. In the comics, it was all about Ant-Man. Ant-Man can shrink all the way down to the quantum realm, which makes me believe that he's going to find some way to use that technology with Iron Man to create some kind of ship or something, maybe open a portal with
So a
someone.
ship already exists in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
It's not the safest technology, though.
But it could get them all there. And if they all get there, then they could get them out. Which goes back to the idea that those suits are for the quantum realm.
Yes.
And I am very excited to see where that goes, to see how they get in, how they get out, to see if this is going to be broken into 3 movies.
And then Adam Warlock.
Oh, one of my favorite topics to talk about in Marvel. Adam Warlock was teased at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in a little case by the Queen. I'm going to call her Queen of the Gold. I don't even know what their
Golden
race is
Girl.
called. Golden Girl, yeah. She says, "This is my son, Adam." And if anybody who knows anything about Infinity War, Adam Warlock, there's two things. It was Ant-Man, who was a really big player, but also Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock gets the Infinity Gauntlet at one point. Adam Warlock literally saves them, becomes the Soul Stone.
He's like very integral with the Soul Stone. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he the one who originally finds it?
Yeah, he's the one who originally finds it. And there was, I think he eventually like becomes like a piece of it or something like that. There's so many things that happens with Adam Warlock. However, he's never been in a movie. They haven't had an origin movie before this. So you were saying that you think he's just going to be introduced at the end of this one, or?
Oh, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be introduced. I'm wondering if they're going to bring him in at all because they've already teased him once.
Right. He could be like a Vision kind of character in the way that they kind of just
appears halfway through.
So we're gonna watch the trailers for Spider-Man
Far From Home,
and Dark Phoenix. Well, we just watched those two trailers, kind of give ourselves a little refresher, kind of remind ourselves what we liked and didn't like, and remind ourselves of all of our theories.
Yes. Turns out I had seen both of them.
Yep.
So real quick, that last section ran a little long, so we're for where we're at for the first episode. So we're gonna just kind of like to try and speed through this one a little bit more. We'll probably go over it when they come out.
Always happens.
So Mysterio being a syndrome from The Incredibles, Jake Gyllenhaal looking like Tobey Maguire, and then he was also supposedly going to replace him in Spider-Man 2 due to some contract disputes. I think that's kind of just like a fun little thing. And then I saw months ago a set picture from Spider-Man Far From Home in which there was Peter Parker sitting on the ground looking up at a balcony with Flash and a girl in a hijab. A little bit of a throwback. Captain Marvel was supposedly brought in, namely so they could as a figure. Right now, what she mainly serves, I believe, in the comics is to inspire Miss Marvel, who's a Kamala Khan, who, another alliteration, we were talking about that earlier, who's before we start filming. But she is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel right now, but she's a 16-year-old Muslim girl, I believe.
Yep.
I know she's Muslim, I think she's 16 years old. And so potentially her being introduced in Spider-Man Far From Home because there's that set picture with a girl in a hijab, though she typically doesn't wear a hijab, but whatever.
Interesting.
Maria Hill makes an appearance.
Yep.
And then you see like the back of her head, but she makes an appearance in it. And then I just said to you, the 4 elementals.
And this blew my mind. So he was saying in the trailer you see the 4 elementals. You see Hydra Man, you see Sandman. I don't actually know the names of the other two.
I want to say
Inferno.
I'm not sure.
Sounds
Give me
right.
a second.
And then the Air One, which you see as a storm brewing between a bridge.
Potentially.
We're kind of speculating that that's what that one is. You do actually see the faces and the other 3 between the Hydra Man, Sandman, and we're gonna call him Inferno until we actually know his name. But
give me a second.
We'll put a little caption here, whatever his name is. We'll figure it out.
This is their live appearance, though. Like
their first ever in a movie.
It's on Wikipedia, but there's something about like it's their first ever live action appearance in a movie, Spider-Man Far From Home.
We got Sandman back.
Hellfire, Hydron, Magnum, and Zephyr.
Perfect.
So not Sandman, but Magnum.
Got you. So it's not the same original bad guy from Spider-Man, but a different character, similar powers. What we're speculating is that they're bringing in these 4 elementals, kind of like what Syndrome was doing in The Incredibles with the robots.
No, actually, that's not. That might be what you're speculating. So there's a belief that that's who they are. So Mysterio typically is a stagehand of sorts to an extreme. Does like a lot of illusions, but not actual magic, and then uses a lot of special effects. And so I'm thinking that Hydra, like the 4 elementals that are supposedly going to be in this movie, aren't actually in the movie. They're all special effects generated by Mysterio to make himself look like a hero because he craves praise. So that's what I'm thinking. He's not actually saving them. He's manufacturing this tragedy like Syndrome does, except it doesn't go wrong for him like it does for Syndrome in The Incredibles. Which, if you haven't seen, why?
Go watch it. It's great. That's interesting. So the way I portrayed it was when I was watching the trailer, he does a scene where I believe it's Hydra-Man, or not Hydra-Man, whatever the heck. Hydron is throwing water at him, and he's blocking it with like his abilities with like the magic, green, whatever, and he stops it using what looks kind of like what do you call them? Like magical glyphs, essentially, because there are two different
one of
versions
Doctor
of
Strange's shields.
Yeah, exactly. Because there is the all smoke and mirrors kind of Mysterio, and then there's the newer Mysterio who actually does use magic. So the one that I kind of saw in the trailer was, oh, I'm actually attacking, but I'm not gonna like hurt you. So I'm gonna throw something at you that I know you're gonna be able to block. So it's gonna look like he's actually protecting the public, because there is, if we're going back to the theory that storm cloud is that's what's happening. That whole bridge is actually under attack. It is actually being damaged. So Mysterio.
So now I'm not thinking that the attacks are fake, and just not actually happening, because you do see Spider-Man get punched by Hydron.
Right.
I'm saying more of they're manufactured, they're controlled, and so he is pre-programming them or controlling them on the fly because he's that good, I believe, in the comics.
Yeah.
So they're not actual entities.
Villains.
He's the villain. They don't actually exist, but he is manufactured some way
Like
to
Scooby-Doo
simulate. Yeah, to simulate their existence. So like, because you can already see storm clouds and cause it to rain. You can we can do that today.
Sure.
And so and he's supposedly like this genius that could manufacture ways to do all that.
Right.
But you were saying how he actually does magic, and then I said how it's like Doctor Strange's been green, and then I did this. You might have saw it. I don't think you did. If you think back to Doctor Strange, what's his name that trains him? Not trains him, not the ancient one. The
guy who turns bad at the end?
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but the guy who turns bad at the end of Doctor Strange.
Name here. Or
Name
something. Here. His line is too many sorcerers. What if Mysterio is another sorcerer? From the whole Ancient One, Doctor Strange kind of thing.
That would be very interesting.
And so now somehow this guy's in it and connected in some way, potentially.
That would be a really, really good way to put it together.
I just thought, so this hasn't been fleshed out at all. Or he comes in and saves the day instead of Spider-Man. Doubtful.
Highly doubtful.
Or something like that. So Mysterio's actually using magic, but now there's this guy who's there to do something.
Right.
I don't know.
And speaking of crazy powers, we just watched the trailer for Dark Phoenix, and she's using the Phoenix Force in this.
Yes.
That is.
She does use it a little bit in Apocalypse, but
for half a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a dope scene.
Yeah. What did you think of this trailer?
So I like it. I do want to say I've always been a fan of X-Men. When the first X-Men movies came out, I was definitely seeing those.
Same.
I've always been a fan of comic books and superheroes. I wish I got to read more comic books growing up. I've always been a fan of superheroes, is more accurate statement. I grew up watching Static Shock, Batman, Beyond. I grew up with Spider-Man snow boots, and
Nice.
I was Superman one year for Halloween, Black Kryptonite, and yeah, I was just doing a bunch of I've always been into superheroes. I was always watching X-Men when they came out, so I didn't have the same issues with. Of course, I hadn't followed up with the comics, so I didn't have the same issues with X3 as a bunch of other people did. The timelines and how convoluted they all get have always been kind of straight in my mind. I've always been able to put this together, and just keep them ordered and whatever. But I have an issue. Why does Mystique keep changing?
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
She's so pale now. Mystique's power is changing. Yes, don't get on me for that.
Right.
But why does she look very drastically different in each movie? I feel even in the X-Men trilogy, early 2000s, that one.
She was pretty
with
consistent.
Rebecca Romijn, she was pretty consistent. But with Jennifer Lawrence, she's shading. Though that was a nice touch in X-Men First Class when she turns into Rebecca Romijn.
That was great.
Another issue. The original comic costumes, I think it's a nice touch.
I personally really like the original comic costumes. It's
So no,
great.
here's what I wish they had done instead. So in the end of Apocalypse, they're wearing their iconic comic costumes, like a more modernized.
Like the bright yellows and all that?
No.
Or which one are you talking about?
Cyclops has his blue with like the yellow slash across it.
you're right.
Mystique has her white with the choker going on. Nightcrawler's got his red. Storm's got her cape and like her silver going on. So it's their iconic costumes that they use in the animated TV show. They use them in video games. It's kind of their iconic costumes from the comics, and not their original first appearance costumes, which is like the kind of like dark blue with the big yellow X. I loved that they included like the modernized versions in Apocalypse. But if they're going back to like their first edition costumes, I wish that they had done those in the end of X-Men Apocalypse, which would make more sense, and then give them their iconic ones in this. Because like I was so excited when I saw that, because I'm sure other people caught it, but the people who I was watching the movie with had no clue.
Right.
And so I was just like so into it, and so I wish that if they're going this route with like their classic costumes, I wish that they had done the iconic ones instead.
Definitely.
But that's me.
Definitely.
Also, Quicksilver definitely dies in this one.
100%. The scene where he's running up all the debris at her, I'm like, dude, she's just gonna particle dust
X3,
you.
that
Yeah.
particleizer wave, yeah, like
She's just gonna be done in 2
But
seconds.
forgot to mention this earlier. With Quicksilver dying in this one, I believe he's coming back for Endgame.
Really? That would be very interesting, especially with the merger happening.
Not even this one. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who died in Age of Ultron. He's coming back for Endgame.
That Quicksilver. Okay, I see you. Okay.
I had this theory, like, not exactly when, but when he died in Age of Ultron, I had a theory he was coming back. Aaron Taylor Johnson has a 2-movie contract, and unless you're counting the scene from The Winter Soldier, the end credit scene with that, which would then be 2 movies, but I'm like,
Not really.
that's kind of stretching.
Wow, I never even thought about that.
I don't think like he's required to have one. I did see something about he was seen on set.
Right.
Not sure I believe that or not, but like I see him coming back because there's already like a theory that there's doing a bunch of time travel for Endgame.
Right.
Bring him back.
They can really open a lot of doors with that.
Like bring him back like randomly within Endgame, saving Ronan at some point. Like what? You didn't see that coming? And just throw that in.
That would be great.
But
That would be great.
which is what he said in Age of Ultron to Hawkeye a lot.
Definitely.
But so if they can bring him back, that'd be great. He was also created by the Mind Stone, so there is some connection there.
True. See, now, I was really worried with this movie that they were just going to basically recreate the third X-Men movie and then rip it off and not do it justice. However, with this newer trailer, I feel like they were really focusing on doing the comics justice. I feel like they focus on the Phoenix Force, which they never really used that terminology in the original X3. They are staying more true to like the characters, like you said, the costumes.
I
and all
doubt
that
they're going to
stuff.
use the term Phoenix Force in this, just because it's
You
going to be
think
like really difficult to explain if you don't follow along. If you embrace it, you'll have the power of a god, which is a line from the trailer.
And she does say the Force.
She does say Force, but if you embrace it, you'll have the power of the god. It's much easier to wrap your mind around
True.
as someone who's not so avid. It's more just like a commercial comic book watcher, comic book movie, superhero movie watcher, which I feel is a lot of people today.
Especially since they call Apocalypse a god, basically.
Yeah.
So they could go that route. But
Apocalypse also called himself a god.
also true.
I believe that was also like a thing in the comics. He believed he should be a god. So I think that's a little different. But
Also true. Since we're on the topic of X-Men, there's a merger that just happened, which fans have been waiting for 4 years. Disney just acquired 20th Century Fox, which means that
all
the
Fox
rights,
properties except for Fox News now belong to Disney.
which now means that X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, all those characters can now be in Avengers. They can now cross over, which was the best part about being a superhero fan reading comics was they all help each other. They all cross universes.
Which is why they were all in New York, because it was easier to make it happen.
Exactly.
Stanley's words.
Exactly. And so I'm very excited to see where they go, especially at the end of Dark Phoenix, at the end of Endgame. Are we going to see the X-Men show up at the end of Endgame? Are we going to see Deadpool use that one F-bomb line of the whole movie? Are we going to see Fantastic Four completely rebooted? What are we going to see?
So I saw something, of course I don't know if it's true or not. The entire X franchise is being rebooted again.
Oh my goodness.
Except for Deadpool.
Okay.
Deadpool's also the only modern one.
Fair.
All of the First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and now Dark Phoenix, they all take place Cold War through probably the 90s.
Yeah. Definitely.
Whereas where Deadpool fits in, it's not quite clear.
But
it's definitely more of a modern kind of feeling to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the Infinity Stones could actually do like some merger thing, or Deadpool could already be present. But so real quick, what the merger also means is like a few things. Captain America's shield isn't actually. So Captain America's shield isn't made out of vibranium and solely vibranium in the comics. It's a combination of vibranium and adamantium, which could be the new shield that Iron Man was working on. They could do that twist, which would be nice.
That'd be sweet.
Because adamantium is an X-Men property because it's so integral to the storyline. It's Wolverine's skeleton. So
the helicarrier being in Deadpool. Little subtleties like that.
Hydra Bob was also in Deadpool.
Right.
So like there's a few things that they can kind of get away with that they're not supposed to. Or they can like hint at and allude to.
Right.
But they can't like be very specific with it. So there could be that. So, but like since adamantium is such an integral part of X-Men, they couldn't use it in the MCU beforehand. Mutants. They couldn't use the term mutants in it.
That's
so
true.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are actually Magneto's children. They allude to that in. They allude to Quicksilver in First Class.
Oh, you're right. It is First Class.
No, it is Days of Future Past. My bad.
Well, no, he's introduced in
Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
And so they do allude to that, and they actually confirmed it then in Apocalypse. But he is the. But like so, they're mutants and like their mutant powers. They're not. They don't come from the Mind Stone, which is what they do in Avengers: Age of Ultron. It's like a weird thing because while Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are mutants, and they start off and they're introduced as part of the Brotherhood. At some point in the comics, they see an ad for the Avengers, and after they've done like this whole thing with evil, and end up switching to the Avengers to become a force of good. And since they chose their name, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, while they were mutants and part of the Brotherhood, even though they kept those names when they switched, those names are technically mutant property, X-Men properties, along with the term mutant being a property for that. And so they have to come up with a different story, which is why they're only ever called Wanda and Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. So they've never been called Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver. It's a whole bunch of like logistical stuff that's dumb, but
interesting. Well, yeah, I think the future is very bright, especially post Endgame. I think that opens a lot of doors for Secret Wars. Going back to that, if you think about how big most of these wars are in the comics in comparison to the MCU, it's not 6 people on an airstrip. It is literally the entire Fantastic Four, the entire X-Men, all the Avengers, Deadpool, all these characters that we've never seen in movies together, all coming together, and that's what I'm very excited for. I personally think we are going to see Secret Wars. I think they could do.
I'd love to see Secret Wars.
It would be amazing. It truly would. And it's just to see all these new things that get rebooted, to see if they do the new Avengers, to see if they kill off all the veterans, to see if they just retire them. But there's
also,
really a lot they could do.
In the comics, Black Panther marries Storm. Storm marries Black Panther. So they do that as well. Which, I mean, him and the youngest character is.
I'm impressed you just pronounced her name correctly.
Starts with an N, I believe.
Nicoya.
Nicoya.
That's Nicoya.
It's Nicoya?
Yeah.
It's really close to Okoye.
Right?
Which is Denai Guerrero's character.
I'm pretty positive it's Nicoya. Again, names of characters somewhere on the
The
screen.
spy who is his girlfriend. they start to rekindle that relationship at the end of the movie. And while it'd be great to see that one go forward, it'd be really cool to see the Black Panther with Storm
Definitely.
as a tie-in. But also, like, I'm tired, and I say this as like a mixed person. I'm tired of all like the same race couples that we see in media, and would very much like to see just some like racial mixing.
Definitely.
So that I can get cast in something. I'm selfish with it. That's why I want to see it. And then also something I would love to see. It's not. I doubt it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Especially if Captain America, Chris Evans, Steve Rogers gets killed off in this. Fantastic Four was part of the Fox merger. Now it's back with Marvel. I would love to see. And there's some rumors about Killmonger coming back in some way. Michael B. Jordan, who played the Human Torch in the most recent attempt at Fantastic Four, which I actually enjoyed. And then Chris Evans, who played Human Torch in the Fantastic Four and the original, and I don't know, was it the original?
It's the original, yeah.
Okay. From like 10, no,
like 6.
15 years ago?
Fantastic Four did not come out 15 years ago.
It wasn't 10.
Dude, we would have been way younger than we are now. I would have been 5 when that movie came out. I was not 5 when Fantastic Four came out. I was at least 10 or 12 when Fantastic Four came out. The original Fantastic Four with Chris Evans, not Fan Four Stick. Well, that's another topic for another night.
I actually really enjoyed it.
I really hated it, but
I do see where there are some issues. Different night though. I would love for them, like a new Fantastic Four to be brought in, and both Killmonger and Captain America be like,
that would be great.
It's not gonna happen.
No, but it would be funny.
I think the closest we'll get to anything like that happening is the acknowledgement that Beers technically gives to Stan Lee in Captain Marvel.
Gotcha.
I think that's the closest we're going to get to anything like that happening. And then you also mentioned you want about the Netflix and like.
Oh yeah.
So it means.
So with something that I've noticed is that Disney is releasing their own streaming service to compete with Netflix, and because of that, they have canceled all of their Netflix Marvel shows. And with this merger happening, I'm starting to think, hey, they're trying to start their own reboots of all those shows on their streaming service to then make it canon, to then bring those characters into the MCU.
So the Netflix shows were already canon.
Right,
if you want.
But to actually bring
they were separate enough that you could be. They were
MCU.
separate enough that they could be like removed and retconned.
Right.
But they do mention the incident, which would be what happens in the Avengers.
Right.
They regularly make references to the Avengers in the show. Like if you're not paying attention, you'll miss them, but they do exist. And I saw something about potentially Heroes for Hire. That's why they were canceling them all, so they could do a Heroes for Hire series, which would be cool. And we can get into, we could do a whole other thing on this topic right now that I'm about to bring up, but with the Disney Plus streaming service, I'm not sure it's actually to compete with Netflix.
Not necessarily to compete, because
everyone keeps saying that, and I don't think it's necessary to compete with Netflix. I think that's just kind of where like the natural evolution of TV is going. It's actually cheaper to some degree to pay for all these streaming services than it is to pay for cable.
Right.
And so I think it, depending on like if you were to go for all of them, I'm sure, and like the premium packages, like it'd be a lot more. But like with commercials, like the baseline of it, you'd be able to get all of this and have access to every single TV show.
Right.
For less than a cable box costs. And we can do a whole nother episode on this at some point. Or
definitely. Let us know if that's something you guys would be interested in.
Yeah. But essentially it would be, I don't think it's so much to compete as much as where it's going. Because I don't think, I may be wrong, but I don't see Disney tackling on their own streaming service rape or drugs, or maybe drugs a few years ago. But now, with what they're at now, I don't see them going after rape like they did in Jessica Jones Season 1, business corruption like they did in Iron Fist Season 1, drugs like they did in Daredevil, or
and Luke Cage,
or the what was it? Prison system and like the incarceration and kind of racism that was present in Luke Cage
and Daredevil
and
and in freaking
all
of them.
I don't see them going that dark route and their own private streaming service.
Definitely.
So
it's not to rival Netflix. It's to give it an alternative, and it's to give Disney a way to be able to really have a hand in all their stuff. Because when you're sharing things between multiple production studios and through multiple directors and all that, I think it's going to get really difficult in production. And so I really think that they're trying to pull all that together, especially now that they own National Geographic, they own Lucasfilms, they own Disney, or not Disney. They own
they
Marvel,
own Disney.
They own Disney. But yeah, they own so much that they're just really trying to have something else for people, you know.
Yeah. So I don't think it's necessary. Like people keep using the phrase to compete against, and I don't think that's accurate. But again, another episode, another topic. Whatever.
And that's our first episode, guys. Let us know what you thought down below in the comments, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to see more content just like this.
If you like it, please share.
Comment, subscribe, and just so you know, we have a few other series coming out as well. We want to be able to start going on a regular release schedule here pretty soon. But this is the first episode. We wanted to kind of get it out there to see what your guys' thoughts, opinions were. Is this a good format? Is this a good length? We wanted to break it up so you can kind of skip around, find the areas of the videos you want to watch, and kind of get the content that you're looking for. But we do have 2 other ones coming out so far. We have a series called Copper Drop. That's going to be about fashion. We're going to be talking about new drops that come out. We're going to be talking about articles of clothing that we ourselves would want to own. And then we also have Film Freaks. Film Freaks is going to be about
more of like behind the scenes in movies, and I think even some TV, like how we think they did that, how these shots were done, and more of just like the nerdier side of production and movies, because we're both actors ourselves. We kind of like pick out how things are doing, things that we find interesting with how a scene is shot, or just like the way it's written, various like more nerdier, geekier aspects that probably aren't appealing to your average moviegoer, but that we think are cool.
And we'd also like to do like little workshops in there too, to show you how we make films, show you our workflow, show you how we edit, show you the kind of tools that we use. I mean, this is being shot on an iPhone right now. We have a camera, we have lenses. So there's all kinds of things that are going to be coming out here pretty soon, guys. Make sure you stay tuned. Follow us on all social medias. We have our own personal ones. My actor one is just Zamar Massey across the board. I have it on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, literally everything. And Edward here has...
So on Instagram, I got Edward Pieces here, and that is Peace, as in, it's actually my last name. Kind of cool. YouTube, I got Edward Peace, and Edward Peace is here too. I got some stuff on some other stuff. If you want to find me, just type in Edward Peace is here, Edward Peace is he, on various like social platforms. I'm not too active on those. I'm trying to be more active on YouTube. Here at Homies Hangout.
And Homie Hangout, as of
Homie
the
Hangout.
posting of this video, now has every single social media. So make sure you go follow us on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever your social media is, we probably have it. We'll be posting text versions of all of this, audio versions of all of this. I would eventually like to start posting these as podcasts on iTunes and on Spotify, so that way if you can't watch the video, you can at least hear it, listen to it, read it if you're at work and in a blog style. But we have tons of content coming your way, guys. Stay posted. Thanks for watching.
So are you the one who's transcribing this?
I thought you were. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Have a good one.